So it's too much options, too much choice right now. Guys who have got the nice car, they've got a nice house, they've got good money coming in, good successful businesses, financial freedom, good looking guys, they have got a lot of data. It's a perfect playground to completely ruin your dopamine receptors, because you're constantly stimulated. You're like one person, 20% in, another person, 20% in, another person. Because most men think right now, why to have one when you can have
spread your
5,
chips,
6?
basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think from a relationship point of view, I think technology is really having a massive impact, because when you see a lot of girls right now who are coming to the dating dynamics with a negative viewpoint and saying that I don't need a man, I don't need a guy, I don't need a relationship, I'll get my own money and X, Y, and Z. They're not saying that because that's what they're programmed to believe, or that's what they ended up believing when they woke up. It's driven by bad experiences, that narrative. If you think about this narrative, it's not coming from a nice place of love. It's coming from a place that I dated 6 guys. They were all type of, this alpha male, sorry to use this word, but this is the stereotype of dominant guys. And they're all monkeys. They all were acting like apes. So if that's exactly what the type of guys we're getting, we don't want it. If women are going that way, men are going that way, this is going to be a massive problem, because this doesn't only apply to dating. This also applies to people who are already in relationships.
Yeah.
Because most relationships are dysfunctional, broken,
I agree.
unfortunately.
But that is a very dangerous society then for everybody as a whole, because one of these infants, like take for example, became so popular that schools had to do lectures deciphering what this man was actually saying, because boys were following him. Boys and girls are very easily influenced by what they're seeing. And I wish it wasn't the case that what you're seeing on social media, people don't believe that's real life. Even at the back of their mind, they might have that thought, but ultimately what's in front of them, they're going to think is real. And that kind of solidarity and that brotherhood that you get, bigging each other up and maybe hating on women, has created a new level of misogyny that we never had and really should not have in this day and age, in this generation with this much education. Hello, I'm Dr. Vanita Ratan.
And I'm Anisha Vasani.
Welcome to Taboo Table Talks, where we're uncovering controversial issues in a modern world.
It's time to change conversations and question the status quo. Sam Green is a London-based entrepreneur who brings an impressive mix of biomechanical engineering and behavioural psychological education to his roles. He's respected for his warmth and competence. He champions the idea that everyone can learn, adapt and grow.
Thank you so much for coming on our podcast. Really appreciate it. So my first question to you, as a feminist, so I may as well put that out there now. Do you think traditional gender roles should continue in the modern world?
Yeah, I think traditional roles where, woman is capitalizing on her nurturing side of bringing up beautiful children, looking after everyone around, because women have their own incredible strengths. Yes, they can venture into the broader spectrum of things, but at the same time, I do think that the love, the caring side of women that you can get from a mother, for example, you're not likely to be getting the same amount from your dad. Not saying that dads can't be loving, but I think there's both people, so mother and a father, they both play very powerful roles. And I think children, new society, new cultures, they would need both sides in order to thrive.
So if we could just so that we're all on the same page, when you define traditional gender roles, what can you tell me what those tasks are specifically for men and for women that you think should
Yeah,
place?
So for men,
yeah,
again, going back to evolutionary psychology and biology, protecting and providing, right? Nowadays it's a little bit different, because now you don't have to be a big strong dude who needs to go out and hunt up like a beast to feed the whole family or the tribe. Now it's finances come into place, but a lot of people, it's a very surface level conversation where people can quite easily say, yeah, but now people can provide money and that will replace their protector and provider route. The issue is that it's a surface level comment because intelligence has always existed. So on every level. So therefore, even back in those days when you had to kill a beast, there were people who would do things more efficiently. Maybe, they didn't have any technology and stuff, but they still had intelligence, on a different level to some of the other people. So I would say as a man, your main job is to protect and provide, for sure. But I think that's where the main role comes from the father's point of view. Father's job is to actually tell the kids, teach them principles, values, culture, believe in God. But at the same time, I think what's happened is people have gone too far into that role of detaching themselves, being this alpha. I hate this term alpha, being the dominant male, detaching themselves from emotional intelligence completely. That's not what the role is. I think, going back to even Stoic philosophy, I'm a big fan of Stoic philosophy, Marcus Aurelius. It all teaches you to acknowledge your emotions, but still decide to do the hard things, because that's what you have to do. And this doesn't only apply to men, this also applies to women. So they also have to do things, creating business, creating a beautiful family. Being a mom is not a full-time job, it's a 24-hour job. So how many guys are actually cognitively actually recognizing this? So I think now, talking about women, what are their traditional roles, or how objective roles? I would say it would be to care, nurture, and create. Now, if that's creating a beautiful business, fine. If it's creating a beautiful family, that's fine. It's down to their choice exactly where they want to lead their life. But I don't think any relationship, whether that's guy or girl, father, mother, if it's led by resentment, jealousy, issues with the opposite sex or the same sex, is ever going to go anywhere constructive.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think that where it gets painful, even though that sounds logical and it makes sense, the reality is that women suffer from domestic violence. So WHO statistics came out, 35% of women who report it, so we know we are underreporting, suffer from domestic violence at some point in their lives. Now, if you are in a situation where the male has access and control of the resources and the woman has no escape route, she's stuck. She can't protect herself. So really it comes down to, it's really not an ego thing from the female's perspective. It is a survival. It's a survival thing. It's a human instinct to survive. And I think this is why there's this maybe miscommunication between men and women about gender roles. It's not that we want to take your job and we want to, force you guys out of what you're doing. It's that we just need to know that we're going to be okay. And really, the only person you can ever rely on is yourself. Because, even tomorrow, we don't know if tomorrow's going to come or not. So sure. All you can ever do, you come into this world alone, you die alone, all you can ever do is rely on yourself. Work on yourself, read, learn new skills, make sure you're competent, make sure you can survive and thrive. So knowing this from the female perspective, do you now still think that women should be in the households and men should be out working?
I didn't say women should be at household. I'm saying that there are strengths where you being in touch with your feminine side is actually an asset in the business world.
Agreed.
I have spoken to a lot of my friends who are females. They're absolutely crushing it in business, but the ones who actually are, I would say, sub crushing, just there but not quite there, or not like they're still experiencing problems in their business and stuff, are the ones who are pretending and putting this front and acting like men. And my advice to those individuals is lean into your feminine side. It's beautiful. It's an asset. And as soon as they do, the business profitability, everything just goes through the roof. But I think going back to the point that you mentioned that, women have to be safe and the domestic violence and everything else. I think no man would put his hand on any woman or his partner, his daughter, or anybody else if they have their issues resolved, if they respect themselves. When you have a outburst of craziness, this in road rage or at home, this is not because it's got nothing to do with they just want to take control. This is because they have issues that they have internally and which are unresolved. So therefore, the aggression then comes out on the wrong person. So if the man is actually quite in touch with his, he's aware of the fact that what the issues are, and he's working on those resolving, because stresses are always going to be there, right? But if he's got a good cap on that, then he's not going to be disrespecting other people because he's got enough respect for himself. I think also another point about how men are being raised. Emotional intelligence across men is getting better for sure.
Is it? Because on social media, we are just seeing a lot of this angry
young men
from
and
young
yes,
men.
venting against women.
So there are two extremes, right? Because one extreme is of because social media is not a true reflection of what is actually going on right now. So social media would give you all these flipping cars and crazy arguments, because that's what gets attention from people who want to watch for entertainment or educational purposes. You combine education and entertainment, you've got a viewer. So the problem with social media is you have these red pill guys. There's incredible amount of confusion that's right now existing between the younger generations. So they're now looking at people like Jordan Peterson or Andrew Tate to say, okay, I need a father figure. I would say, Peterson. So let's take
Peterson is different.
Yeah, Peterson is different.
Tate is different. They're two different worlds.
Yeah.
Tate's different. But however, the younger generation of men, and in some cases even inspired women in the younger age brackets, they are looking for structure.
Yes.
They're looking for structure to follow. This is why most people are employed.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. And a very small minority are in self-employed positions. And most people who actually venture into being self-employed, they go back to being employed because it's not easy to create a structure because it requires discipline. So take Peterson's example. What message is he putting out? Clean your room. Don't worry about the ice caps melting away. Worry about your personal well-being. Just enhance the value of you as a person. All of these messages are very basic, but that's what's missing from our society. So when you actually mix this with a generation of people who actually lack emotional intelligence from men's point of view, it's a bad combination when going into relationships. So what tends to happen? Growing up, Mr. Alpha, Mr. Stoic, Mr. Sexual, Mr. Athlete, all of these masks that people put on. There are some really good books written about this. And what tends to happen is, as you're growing up and you've been masking as a guy, high-fiving in a locker room, oh, how many girls did you sleep with, on stag do's and stuff. It's like you're encouraged to suppress your emotion. If you get hit in a rugby game, dust it off, Mr. Stoic, Mr. Perseverance, right? The issue is that your emotional intelligence muscle is not exercised at all. So because it's not exercised, when you are older, when you get into these relationships with these beautiful creatures, women, in your 20s, you can mask to a point to get the whatever you want from a relationship, or to give as much as you want, but there's a disconnect in the communication, because they're speaking one language, you're speaking another, because you just simply don't understand them from an emotional point of view, because your emotional intelligence is really poor.
But that is a very dangerous society then for everybody as a whole, because one of these influences, like Tate for example, became so popular that schools had to do lectures deciphering what this man was actually saying, because boys were following him. Boys and girls are very easily influenced by what they're seeing. And I wish it wasn't the case that what you're seeing on social media, people don't believe that's real life. Even at the back of their mind, they might have that thought, but ultimately what's in front of them, they're going to think is real. And that kind of solidarity and that brotherhood that you get, bigging each other up and maybe hating on women, has created a new level of misogyny that we never had, and we really should not have in this day and age, in this generation with this much education. It's very hard now, because I actually think the patriarchy works against the man now, because if you live in the UK, the cost of living is so high that if it was just down to one human being to make enough money for the whole family, he's likely to crumble. Especially if you're only earning, if you're at 50th centile, which is hot, average, you won't be able to manage. Actually, you need two incomes to come into the house. So if the children are now watching the mother working,
Tate example is actually is quite interesting, and Tucker Carlson recently did an interview with him, really interesting, because if you watch tape from say 3, 4, 5 years ago, he's a different person. So and people combine the whole message as either one extreme or the other, right? The best analogy, and I don't know if I'm able to use this language, is a shit sandwich. I don't know if you heard of the term, but that's exactly what Tate is. He would say, go to the gym, be very strong, regardless of how you feel, you still put in the hard work, you still work out really hard, you create business, you create value for yourself, you look after the women, you protect them, right? You look after them, you pay for everything, and you respect them. Women are beautiful creatures. He's got a daughter, and he's got a great relationship with his mom. I don't know any of these facts. I'm just regurgitating what I've seen, right? That's one message he's saying. And then he's also talking about the fact that, be very successful and get the money, because with money you'll be able to fix the issues and also help a lot of people who are not able to help themselves. To me,
that's all good
solid.
stuff. Yeah.
100%.
Good stuff,
I'm like, in agreement. That's probably about 95% of what he's been saying for the past 2 years, right? You look at his messages and his videos before then, tell her to shut up, do this, women don't, I tell them to do this and I tell them to do that, very disrespectful. Some of the videos where he's I think he's taken his girlfriend to a meal or something like that, or she's recommending him to a meal, is talking to her like she's like a just non-existent, just an object. So what I'm saying is you have, when people are watching you, especially younger kids, younger guys, they're influenced by the whole behavior, because how you do anything is how you do everything. So they are saying, okay, work out, get a nice fancy car, create a business, and be an asshole to girls. What? Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work that way, because you can create an amazing business, you can have a fancy car, you can have all the muscle in the world, right? And you can also be super successful, and you can have a beautiful relationship with an amazing woman and respect her and love her to the point where she is reciprocating it back and you guys are amplifying together, right? That doesn't happen because the messaging is incorrect. Now, recent messaging has all been right, and most of it is about self-improvement. I believe humans are like ultimate adaptation machines, apex predators for sure because of that. But at the same time, you have people like him. Tate is just one person who's gained incredible amount of influence and so on. But then you have other people who are doing very similar things, like there are other podcasts, they're promoting this narrative out there. So I just think it's just one person's one viewpoint, not the entirety. But people who don't like him, they dismiss his good messages as well, rightfully so. But the people who love him, they completely displace his wrong messages. Well, wrong messages on both sides, right? So wrong and good and bad, they're all mixed together, and that's where the younger generation, which is already confused,
you're confusing them even more.
They're like, okay, so this is a structure. Let's just take this whole structure
because it works. You see, like a good-looking, strong man, and you think he's successful. Let me do what he did.
Yeah. But he's contradicting himself completely, because on one hand you're saying that he used to say respect women, protect them, look after them, and now he's saying basically that a woman's role is to be at home and she shouldn't be working. But if a woman gets raped out there, that's because of her. What did she do? She was dressed in a certain way and she actually instigated that. And he's putting a lot of wrong messages out there where he's actually completely disrespecting women all the time.
There is extreme.
But in his earlier videos, you said that he was saying, let's protect and nurture them and they don't need to work.
Again, there are exceptions to this, and there's some realism to this argument. And I because I can see both sides. I've been to Miami plenty of times. I've been to other parts of the world where, the party life is crazy, in my early years. I see both men and women, when they're younger, incredibly irresponsible, right? So if you are then, dressing in a certain way, which is because men are visual creatures, right? and they also lack what we know, emotional intelligence. So therefore, things like rape happen. That should never happen, but it does happen, unfortunately. So if you combine those two things together, and you put alcohol on top of this, right, which influences your ability to make right, decisions. You're just waiting. The chances are then a lot higher for something to happen. Now, is it likely to happen? Yeah, exactly. Is it likely to happen? Maybe not. Is it going to be an exception? Yes. That's why it doesn't happen every day in the same place to a number of people. But it does happen because it's an exception. Because you're just combining, you're just increasing the probability of that happening.
Let me say something. So with rape, for example, rape is a form of controlling a woman, humiliating a woman, making her completely powerless. And it can happen any part of the world. It can happen if you're dressed head to toe. It can happen from an uncle, someone from your family.
Yeah.
It can happen to children. It can happen anywhere. It's got nothing to do with what you're wearing. A big part of this is hatred towards women, or needing to control or cause pain to a woman. And it might be because you're in pain yourself. It may be that you need to release something yourself. Maybe you've gone through something yourself and you're not able to speak about it. Maybe you don't have the emotional intelligence to talk about it. Maybe you're not in connection with your own emotions. Maybe you live in a society which is a patriarchal society and you're not allowed to talk about failure, in which case you have to vent somewhere. And so in those situations, rape is awful, and it's one of the things that can happen. So from the female perspective, we are physically weaker than men, which is why we actually need to have our own finances. We need to have our own backup plan. And we're lucky that we live in a country where we're allowed to do that. Other countries may not have the same freedoms for women. And so with my question is, for women, what can we do to increase the respect that we deserve from men? If we are not equal to you physically, we need to be loved and taken care of, not taken care of financially, taken care of with our heart.
Sure.
And feel safe.
Sure.
Honestly, that's the only thing that we care about.
Yeah.
So there's this big thing, we look for money, we marry across and up. It's nonsense. What are women supposed to do in this environment where there's this male toxicity and it's rampant and it's going viral online, and women physically are not any match for a man, but are vulnerable? What are we supposed to do to change this?
Okay, so it's really interesting because I think, again, I don't specialize in talking about rape, which is one of the most horrible things on the planet. The main primary difference is consent, right? So you're basically going back to respect and responsibilities, and also talking about what kind of responsibilities can young women take right now to eliminate that, right? Because there's one thing, exceptional circumstances like rape, which is incredibly difficult to even talk about because it's profound and it's horrible and it is exception. But then there are relationships. In a relationship, what kind of things can women do? I think in the first case scenario, I would say maybe don't put yourself in situations where the chances of the probability of something like that
Unfortunately, the
happens.
most times this happens does not happen in a club.
Sure.
It doesn't happen by a stranger.
Yeah.
It's more likely to happen from a family member.
Sure.
Right? So what you need to understand is the woman just has to be present.
Yeah.
Fully clothed in her home. So it's got nothing to do with putting yourself in a dangerous situation, which is the narrative that we're hearing online is, what are you wearing? Where were you? You don't need to be anywhere. You could be in your bed.
Yeah.
You could be sleeping peacefully. You could be studying, reading a book and going to sleep.
Yeah.
And it can happen there. So it's nothing to do with where you are. It's this hatred and this need for power and control and to humiliate the female. This is a male problem. And it really, I do feel like there's a big part of this comes from the locker room chat, this whole how many girls were you with
Of course.
narrative.
Yeah.
How do we change the conversation for boys that this is not cool? Like, you are not cool. No woman, if they heard you, would respect this.
I think it does come down to respect, because again, as I said, if you have enough respect for yourself, you have right values, you have a fear of God, I sound dogmatic, but if you have enough realization, Peterson said once that regardless of the fact that you believe in God or not, living your life to think and believe that God exists will inevitably make your life a lot better, because you have this constant realization somebody's watching you.
Someone's watching you.
Someone's watching you.
Someone's watching
yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Yeah, I
So
think that's
if
the
someone's watching you, and you also have from other side the stresses that you have in life, you don't have to always be worried about tomorrow or yesterday. Just allocate some of the stresses to the guy or the girl upstairs, and you just worry about today. That's how you can actually focus on the present moment and create something awesome for tomorrow. But I think going back to your point of responsibilities and what can young women do to increase their the level of respect, or if they lack in physical strength, I think again women have their own huge strengths. So they may not have the same amount of like physical strength of the biceps or triceps, or being able to do the endurance runs or whatever. That's all biological, but women, they can most definitely have an impact on when it comes to non-biological factors, i.e. their behavior. So behavior and emotional intelligence. Now, emotional intelligence is not only about having more emotions and being more emotional. It's about communicating the right message to your other half and enhancing that dialogue. Choosing the right person.
How do we do that?
I think choose, because sometimes if you are, if you're getting into a relationship and you're like a tiger and you get into a relationship with a gazelle, naturally that communication is not going to work, because two different languages, two different behaviors, no common interests, and that's not going to work. Choosing the right partner, this goes back to actually going through that process of choosing the right person. Now, you mentioned that your other half, he's progressive, although you weren't looking for someone who was like this billionaire who's like also very good looking, very incredible.
I'd run in the opposite direction if I saw that.
Yeah, but a lot of women are looking for that.
I don't look for that. Don't look for that. You can do it on your own.
And you probably hear that a lot, right? Women are looking for someone that, have got money, have got stability, because they think that if they've got, security in terms of finances, they're never going to have to worry, they're never going to have to work, and some people want the easy way out. You're right, some women do want that option. As much as it makes us both cringe, thinking, no, we want to be that third category that you're saying, where we are working women who are nurturing and caring, but we're very well cultured. We've been raised in good families, being raised with ethics and morals. So there's a lot of us that do can relate to that third category that you are saying. But there are a lot of women out there that, you guys obviously do, highlight on social media, that they do want to lead these influencer lives, the private jets and the bags, and they want their guys to be buying everything for them, and they want them to be set and secure so that they don't have to work anymore. Yeah. So, you can see the contrast. Yeah, that does exist.
100%. There is, exactly. I absolutely agree with you. And I think dating, I have been single for about 11 months now. So I kind of dip my toe into the dating world a little bit. So from personal experience and from other people who are in this dating structure at the moment right now, it's completely different to what existed in the past.
Tell me everything.
What have you seen? Because I'll tell you what I've seen from a female perspective, as a single female.
I think so this is, a lot of it is actually influenced by platforms like Instagram. Not in a nice way, because technology is absolutely incredible when it comes to efficiency. And efficiency comes from consolidation of information or data. Great for businesses, right? The problem is, in relationships, that doesn't work, because it's very similar to me walking into one chocolate bar shop and having like 60,000 options. I'm likely to try 50, walk out with none, right? If I go into another shop and they've got 2 flavors, I'm likely to walk out with 1. So it's too much option. It's too much choice right now. So the guys who have got the nice car, they've got nice house, they've got good money coming in, good successful businesses, financial freedom, good looking guys, or they've got their life together, and also now in their 50s. They have got a lot of data. and they can actually it's a perfect playground to completely ruin your dopamine receptors because you're constantly stimulated. You're like and one person 20% in, another person 20% in, another person, because why most men think right now, why to have one when you can have
Spread your
5
chips,
6?
basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is, again, from a biological point of view, this is not super helpful because you're constantly driven for that dopamine hit, right? Next person, next person, next person. And social media platforms are capitalizing on this. The problem is that when you are going into these empty endeavors of relationships, you're not actually getting through the first, second, third problem, or there's no reasoning, there's no sense of trying to settle with that person because you don't have to. You can just move on to 50 more because your
More
inbox,
options.
your DM is full. You can just basically reach out, get whatever you want. So if I have bad behaviors, or even if I have my behaviors which are not bad behaviors, there's no compromise, right? So I'll get into a relationship if I don't like something. If these are my non-negotiables, I'll go to the table with my non-negotiables. If they're not met, sorry, see you later. So I think from a relationship point of view, I think technology is really having a massive impact, because when you see a lot of girls right now who are coming to the dating dynamics with a negative viewpoint, and saying that I don't need a man, I don't need a guy, I don't need a relationship, I'll get my own money and X, Y, and Z. They're not saying that because that's what they're programmed to believe, or that's what they ended up believing when they woke up. It's driven by bad experiences, that narrative. If you think about this narrative, it's not coming from a nice place of love. It's coming from a place that I dated 6 guys. They were all type of, this alpha male, sorry to use this word, but this is, the stereotype, the dominant guys, and they're all monkeys. They all were acting like apes. So if that's exactly what the type of guys we're getting, we don't want them. The reason why that's not working right now, and women are going that way, men are going that way, and this is going to be a massive problem, because this doesn't only apply to dating. This also applies to people who are already in relationships, because most relationships are dysfunctional, broken,
I agree.
Unfortunately. So I would say you're an exception for sure, and it's not to say that you're an exception and life is easy for you. Successful relationship, loving someone, having that constant partnership, it's hard work. So it's then you're putting in this hard work, and then you got the ROI on your time and effort investment, right? You're getting the return on your investment of time that you're spending, and the effort. Naturally, this comes from you being cognitively engage with what he wants and how he actually likes to be communicated.
100%. I think. So my grandma always said, "Stroke the man's ego,"
Always,
which is like, I don't have any ego with him. Like, I will tell him how much I love him 10 times a day. I will praise specific things that he's doing. Like, he just kind of fobs me off. Like, I'm like a little lovesick puppy around him. He's like trying to kick me off his leg. It's one-way love story. But he himself is very self-aware. He did Tony Robbins, and he's read a lot of self-development books, and does a lot of introspection himself. Plus, I think he himself has seen it go wrong in his own family growing up, with women not being treated right by men. And he had a lot of empathy and never want to repeat that cycle. So then I was asking him, I said, why is it that you were able to see that and realize, I don't want to be that, I want to be better, and create the relationship that you wanted, that was going to be nurturing for your children and your wife, and other men who have probably seen the same or worse are not able to make that connection? Can you answer me that question?
Emotional intelligence and having the realization to observe and implement. There's only one way to improve anything, business, relationship, your parents, is by first of all getting optics on it. If you don't have optics on whatever it is you're trying to improve, you can't monitor it. If you can't monitor it, you can't improve it. You have enough information, right? You have read enough books. Let's implement. Don't be a good book or a video watcher or a reader. Be a good doer. And I think that message is definitely missing. And so people just need to shut off, because none of these platforms are going to shut off, because they're making billions on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
So then I think going back to your point about your husband, who is extremely self-aware, it does come down to observation.
His observational skills are another level. Like he will. I'm getting really personal here, but but like he will observe when, like he knows when I'm about to start my period before I do. I have no idea. He's gone out, bought the tampons, I got my like codeine, and he knows that the following day I'm going to start my period.
Because he can tell by your emotions or the way you look,
said something,
or
my tone of voice or something. We're right now trying to drop our house, and the things that I would not even have picked up on, he's picking up on. And then his memory is also insane. So he remembers every fight, every argument. It's catalogued in his mind. Stuff that like has gone over my head. So I think you're completely 100% spot on with the observation thing. And it's just another reason not to give your child a mobile phone.
Absolutely.
And push it as far as you can into the distance.
So upbringing is key.
Yeah.
Because my best friend has a son, and she's like, she teaches him the right way. You respect women. You do not break their hearts. She is her guiding her son, who's only 6 years old now, and teaching him the right core values and ethics, so that when you grow up, you are going to respect your woman. You are going to treat her like this. You are going to pay for her. You are going to do this. And I said, you're being a bit harsh on him. She's like, no. I know where it went wrong for me and my partner, and the way I was disrespected. And, you know, the certain scenarios and situations that happen, I'm going to ensure that I can raise my son to be the best man that he can. So it all does go down, you're right, to upbringing, raising your children in the right way, and ensuring that they are not consumed by social media. We've done a whole episode on technology. But I think observation, I think you're so right, because a few of these people that are going out and, you know, are saying, or you know, committing rape and things like that, is because it's deep-rooted from their problems, or they've seen domestic violence and witnessed it between their parents when they're younger. Because I've obviously got some friends as well that, you know, do become quite aggressive as males, and they drink, and you're like, why do you become like this when you are, you know, intoxicated or you are drinking? It's because they've got deep-rooted issues that they have obviously experienced in their childhood, but also because they've observed, like you're saying, their dad hitting their mum, and think that this behavior is okay when it's not. So when they then go into their own relationships, that's them actually then obviously acting out because of what they've witnessed as a child. It's
a combination of having observational skills is one thing. Having enough cognitive function and realization which things to implement, which things to not. I think that also plays a big part, because this is where the IQ comes in. Because if you just take someone's behavior because it's an automated process from your dad or from your uncle, whatever, or from your proximity, it takes a certain level of thinking to say, regardless of these people or how I was raised or how these people behaved around me, this is right, this is wrong. Because most people, they don't wake up to say, today I want to be a bad person, regardless of how bad that his behavior or her behavior is. Everybody wants to be a better person, and they want to live a good life. They want to be happy. Everyone is looking for happy, right? Therefore, everyone wants to be successful and give more money and make more money, and also be very successful in terms of their relationship. The issue is that they are not actually growing their cognition. They're putting a stop to their cognition because it's directly impacted by their proximity. So right now, this is overused. Proximity is power, and you're the average of 5 people that you spend your time with. What does that actually mean? What's the biological or psychological breakdown of it? Here it is. So your thoughts. So on average, how many thoughts do we have on average per day? So Dispenza talks about this on about 75 to 80,000 thoughts a day. 90% of these thoughts are subconscious. So we're talking about over 65,000 thoughts, subconscious. So you're in a subconscious thought pattern loop, programming your life, right? These thoughts are impacted by your proximity. The people that you spend time with, the crap you watch, the good things you watch, the books that you read, the books that you don't read, all of this is making your thoughts. Now, and your environment. These thoughts will trigger your behaviors. Your behaviors will trigger your actions. Your actions will trigger your results, and that sends a loop back to your thought process. So this is why people, having the right people around you, naturally when you're younger, some of these things are out of your control, because you can't pick your parents when you're young in certain circumstances, or cousins, or the
your
friends
at
or
school.
the people who influence you. But at the same time, as you're getting older and older, as you're becoming a teenager and going into your early 20s and so on, you have got control on changing your proximity, not only from the people around you, but also the stuff that you consume on your phone. So I think this is where a lot of self-development gurus and these people on social media, they're doing exceptionally well, and they're making like a lot of money by doing this, because they are saying that, okay, our message is correct. And they are not wrong. Their message is correct. They are talking about, improving your life, improving your health, and everything else. The problem is that it's a hyper consumption of this content that's actually having a problem on the younger generation.
Right. So I can relate to everything you've just said.
Sure.
In terms of, I'm single, I am in my late 30s, and I am absolutely petrified about having children. Mm-hmm. Because at the moment, it's just hard enough finding a partner that ticks all the boxes with everything that you require and that you're aligned with your same values. And as you know, by dating as well, because you've both been in a relationship and non, it's quite hard now, because a lot of men and women, I say both, are ghosting one another on dating. When they're meeting on dating apps, they meet, or they want to, they may choose to be intimate with their partners or someone that they're getting to know. And I read an article on OK Magazine just yesterday saying that she would really be really careful in actually taking that step in being intimate with a guy, and would only limit it to maybe after the 10th date, after you get to know them, and if you're aligned and you see potential. After the 10th date, when she did actually sleep with this guy, because they talked about a lot of things, she went to his house, they went to cinema together, they went for dinners together, they had a lot of things, values that were aligned. He then ghosted her after the 10th date, even though they talked about a future together. Sure. Why would you say, I want to know from you, from a male perspective, why do men ghost women? One, after they've been intimate with them, or two, as they're getting to know them? What are the two reasons, would you say, from a male perspective? Women do it too, and I know that.
Number of factors. It's, again, not just one reason applies to all, but I would say number one is introspection. So there's no introspection to actually really find out the type of person that you actually want. So the need, this desire for this insatiable desire for physical need to be met, it's like a challenge to a lot of guys.
Yeah.
And once that challenge is overcome, they're looking for the next challenge, because it's not a challenging enough situation once that's done. And this again goes back to your mindset, because if your mindset is, I'm just going to do this one, and I'm going to get this person one way or another, so I'm going to attain this person. And a sexual interaction, intimacy, it does indicate the attainment of the other person in the opposite sex. Retaining is taxing. Retaining is also rewarding. But in this hyperstimulation of a like crazy world that we live in right now, a lot of people are not programmed to from a behavior point of view to retain. Mm-hmm. People are more keen to attain, let go, attain, let go. So I think that's one of the reasons. Another reason could be being fair, it could be the fact that the communication wasn't as clear and honest from both sides as to what they actually wanted. Now, naturally, there are guys who would manipulate the situation to get into intimate situation, but then you have other sides where just didn't see eye to eye. If a person didn't communicate at all after, that's obviously a red flag. But I don't believe that it's amazing 10 dates, intimacy, and then ghost. I think there are red flags, and I think both men or women are quite, they see things they want to see. So they end up not recognizing some of the red flags. So I think identifying those red flags through those 10 dates or 5 dates or 2 dates.
How long should a woman wait during the courting phase before being intimate with a man? What do you think is a good amount of time, like a really long period of time, really long, so that the man is now locked in? Because then you get sunk cost mentality. And I know this is sounding like very...
yeah. How long should it be before they get intimate? This is the biggest debate we all have.
So from guy's point of view, when a guy likes you, he wants to sleep with you immediately. This is not only because he's just like sexually driven to sleep with you ASAP. That's one part. Second part is he wants to lock in that relationship. Guys are much simpler than women. They like you. They love the way you look. They like the way that you speak. You've established your family values and your preferences and X, Y, and Z. Done. Let's go. And then, I just want to focus. So I think it does go back to recognizing and getting to know the person, what their background is, what their friends are, what kind of things they're saying, what kind of things they're not saying, most importantly. So I think all of that actually forms your interviewing stage to get to know the other person, knowing your person, right? So if you can get to know them to the point now, if this takes 50 dates, you got to be comfortable. If it takes
1 year,
date,
guys, you heard it here first.
if it takes 1 date, that's fine too. But I think it all comes down to you getting to know that person, not by what they're saying, but what they're doing. Because if what they're doing is completely clashing with what they're doing, what they're saying, what they're doing is completely two different things, you have to pull a pause, and that's a red flag. So for example, if the person says that, listen, I'm very incredibly disciplined, and it's very crucial for me to have a good structure in life. It's a very cool and sexy thing to say nowadays, because the women are like, okay, you know what? Structured guy, disciplined, good car, nice looking, and everything else. He arrives on your 3rd date late, 20 minutes late. That person doesn't have discipline. It's poor. There's no organization in his life, right? There's no reason to be late, right? Exceptions happen, but those are exceptions. Repeated trend is a pattern, and that's what you need to recognize. So I think it's just being more dialed in, not to be a Columbo, the detective, to actually investigate, but just be more mindful as to the things that he's saying, the things that he isn't saying, his behaviors. So don't take everything that he's telling you. Literally observe his actions.
That's interesting. And the second one would be like when women do feel that they do sleep with a guy quite quickly on in their relationships, they feel like they are cheapened or they are being judged, because that's what a lot of girls feel like, I gave it up too quickly.
Sure.
How do you find that right balance, between a woman actually also wanting to be intimate, because she also wants to see if they're compatible and if that intimacy level is the same, which we talk about a lot. Some women wait and then they're really disappointed, thinking, okay, this isn't actually right for me, and vice versa. Guys are like, okay, I didn't feel it, everything else was on point, but with the minute we were intimate, it didn't quite do it for me. So when is the right balance to actually take that step to be intimate, and without worrying about being judged as well from both sides?
If you are going to end up sleeping with a person who believes in monogamous relationships and who's looking for a long-term partner and who is also looking for a family life, or he's already got a family or something like that, who's very cultured and he's got a fear of God, very crucial. I never used to believe this, but in recent years, especially after my son, I've developed this belief, and it serves me incredibly well. That person is, although he's gonna want to sleep with you immediately if he's attracted to you, it's not on his priority list, because that person is not sexually driven. That person is more emotionally driven, also a smart person who will sit down and have a talk with you for 10 times, 1 time, 50 times to actually establish, going back to our point of non-negotiables or understanding the other person, is this the right person for me? Because it has to work both ways. Is this the right person for me? But at the same time, I'm the right person for them. So it's having that conversation, going deep in, exhausting for sure, especially in this culture right now, in the society that we live in, because most guys are like, you know what, I can go on Instagram, especially with a good following, 60 girls like this, no problem. Nice car, access to awesome places, look good, done. But if you are sitting down with that one person, you have to invest. There has to be a level of investment, which to go through some of the difficult conversations. A really good way is to establish if that person is correct before you come on to sex or anything like that. Have difficult conversations.
So what are those 5 questions that partners should ask one another on a date?
5 questions.
As you mentioned them at the beginning, that you guys should have those questions.
To each person, their criteria or what they're looking for is going to be completely different. It just comes down to your preferences. But I would say find out if that person is progressive, because whatever is not growing is dying. There's no stagnation in life. So I think you are going to need to establish if that person is progressive in personal endeavors or in business and family point of view, because if that person is not progressive in business, he's not likely to want to grow his family either, because he's just waiting to die in a least painful way. Most people are in that bracket. They're not looking to live, they're not looking to thrive, because it's taxing. Making business happen is taxing. Doing this podcast is taxing. Working out is taxing, right? Everything takes an effort. Our brain is designed again to survive for the longest period of time. So you're doing a brain hack on yourself. So what needs to happen then is you need to then have these difficult conversations to establish if that person is progressive. Number 2, is that person, do their values in line with yours? Family beliefs, values, doing the right thing. Where is that on the priority list out of 10 for them, right? So a good way of always pulling a response from guys is always make it as simple for them as possible and give them out of 10 situations, right? So
like scenarios,
but give them out of 10. So out of 10, if for example, if you felt about this, like 1, if you really want to basically improve, or you want to really improve your financial situation, 1 being, you're totally okay, 10 being like, it's a must, it has to happen, non-negotiable, I'm going to make this happen, whatever it takes. Pull a response out of 10. If that person is, say, 3, you're like, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah,
it's so much that I hope that everyone has learned from this entire podcast, because we could probably just sit here with you and continue talking and debating.
There are so many questions we actually haven't asked.
So if there's anything more that you would like us
in the comment section,
invite Sam on again.
Yeah, we'll definitely get you back on.
We would love to have an episode 2 with them if there is. I know there was so much there to cover, which we didn't even get through. But Sam, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We are in the comment section for 1 hour at the launch of every single YouTube video. So when you subscribe, hit that notification bell.
So please do subscribe to our Taboo Table Talks page, follow and like us as well, and also do give us a follow on Instagram on Taboo Table Talks.
Thank you.
Bye.